I think it's live. Namaskaram, everyone. A very good evening. So I'll start off with a little introduction about Samarpana and the work that we've been doing. And we're very fortunate and grateful to have Vidyaka, Ramaka, and Vaibhavana with us today. Thank you so much. Samarpana is a not-for-profit trust registered in 2019. And through these 1.5 years, we have been reaching out to artists, folk artists, especially after the onset of the pandemic. We have been able to help 3,000 folk artists with all the donations that you have been able to give us, and with the help of so many artists who have collaborated with us. We've been able to help 100 underprivileged families and the education of 30 kids from very economically backward backgrounds. And recently, the project we undertook was the construction of urinals at a government boys' school at Perungudi, where the kids were defecating in the open. And again, through workshops, we were able to raise funds and construct this urinal. This time for COVID, so it has taken over the entire country, and and the situation is really grim across. So also in Chennai. So I have personally gotten in touch with all the deans of the government hospitals, and so I want to quote a conversation that I had with the Stanley chief doctor, government hospital. So he mentioned that even during tsunami, they were able to handle the situation, but whatever is happening right now, they have never seen anything like this ever before. So it's really grim and sad, because even today we were trying to find oxygen and ICU beds for 4 of my friends, and we were not able to find these beds. People end up waiting in the ambulances, in the corridor, in the outpatient wards, and they just end up waiting there because they're not able to get admitted. Our hospital doctors and nurses are overwhelmed by the sheer number of people getting admitted. And when we spoke to all of these government hospitals, they mentioned that the urgent need is for oxygen cylinders and concentrators, because right now the infrastructure doesn't support enough oxygen beds, because the ports are connected to only few cots inside the hospital ward. So with these concentrators and cylinders, they'll be able to connect it to every alternate bed, and in turn they'll be able to admit more patients. So at Samarpana, we have started a fundraiser to procure 420 oxygen cylinders, 240 concentrators, 500 NRB masks and oxygen masks, and this will be distributed to all government hospitals in Chennai. So this is the 5th day of our fundraiser. We have been able to get 35 lakhs. Our target is 3 crores. Thank you for all the humble donations, and we request all of you to donate generously, to do whatever you can in your capacity to collaborate with us or share the post, so that we would be able to reach this amount and procure those cylinders and concentrators as soon as possible and save lives. So yeah, this is about Help Chennai Breathe campaign, the ongoing campaign that we have been doing. So Vidyaka has been associated with us for from last year, and she is a very empathetic person, I would say, because she herself initiates conversations with us, asking about how are people doing, how are artists doing, what can I do for the community. So each and every time I have my conversations with her, I am really touched, seeing the magnanimity of her heart. So thank you so much, Akka, for whoever you are. And again, for this workshop, she was the one who proactively came up, and she was like, what can we do for the community? What can we do for the artists? It's been really tough. and she ideated this whole workshop for us. So thank you so much, Akka. I'm ever grateful to be associated with it. Thank you so much. And we have two great dancers with us. We have to pinch ourselves, to see if it's a dream or if it's reality. So we have Ramaka and Vaibhavanna with us. So thank you so much for joining us for this session. Thank you. Over to you, Aryamba, to introduce our guests.
Namaskaram. I hope that we find you and your family in the pink of health as we do this live. It gives me great pleasure, and it is my utmost honor to introduce these esteemed artists here on behalf of Samarpana. This series has been ideated and will be moderated by our dear Vidhya Subramanian. Trained in the Varavood style by eminent gurus Shri S.K. Rajaratnam and Abhinaya exponent Srimati Kalanidhi Narayanan, Vidhya Subramanian's performances have stood out as a beacon to discerning audiences. As a teacher and an artistic director, her intense involvement has been the reason for the evolution of many a student and ensemble work. With a master's degree in theatre arts, she has been involved in theatre and film as another creative outlet to her immense talent. An eternal devotee of Bharatanatyam, Vidhya Subramanian is known for her refined elegance and, within quotes, the total internalization of emotive energy, close quotes. Her choreographic works combine great discipline, knowledge of space and time, exquisite control, and total immersion in her subject. Akka, we can't thank you enough for how generous you have been with us, for proactively coming up with the whole series, and for being such an enthusiastic moderator for Samarpana. Thank you so much, Akka. The speakers of this evening are Srimati Rama Vaidyanathan and Sri Vaibhavarikar. Srimati Rama Vaidyanathan needs no introduction, is an Indian Bharatanatyam artist from New Delhi. She is one of the directors of Ganesha Natyalaya, one of the best Bharatanatyam institutes of our country. She has toured the country and the world alike, performing and showcasing her art. She was selected for the Sangeeta Natak Academy Award in the year 2017. Some of her most famous choreographies are Vrikshanjali, Shivoham, among many others. She is one of the top performers of her generation. Thank you, Akka, for accepting to be a part of this talk series. We now move to Sri Vaibhavarikar. Sri Vaibhavarikar belongs to the new generation of intense dance artists whose art and life is guided by the vision of promoting, producing, and projecting Indian classical dance as a contemporaneous art. Utmost dedication and dynamism is imbued in his profile as a dancer, teacher, choreographer, producer, actor, educationist, and an administrator. Thank you, Anna, for being here. I will now pass this on to our moderator for the evening, Vidhya Subramanian Akka, to take over. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aryamba. Thank you, Samarpana, for all the work, wonderful work you've all been doing, tireless work indeed. And I hope everyone has donated generously to their cause and will continue to do so. If you haven't, please do so. I urge you all, because this is obviously a cause that is in dire need right now. And I also want to thank everyone who has joined us today for this conversation. Before we start, I would just like to invite everyone to observe a moment of silence in honor of those we've lost, and also in honor of those who are possibly fighting for their lives and need to heal as soon as possible. So I request you to just perhaps in your own, wherever you are, to maintain a moment of silence. Thank you. Thank you. Poet Amanda Gorman, when asked the question, what would you do differently if you knew the pandemic was coming, answered thus: I think if I could go back in time and give myself a message, it would be to reiterate that my value as an artist doesn't come from how much I create. I think that mindset is yoked to capitalism. Being an artist is about how and why you touch people's lives, even if it is one person, even if that's yourself in the process of art making. Dancers are now going through many experiences, many emotions. Some are sad, some have lost near and dear ones. Some are dancing and continuing to create through it. Some are not able to. Some are anxious and disheartened, perhaps, and some are questioning the relevance of the art, while others are finding relevance in the art. Some are hopeful, some are fearful. We have all kinds of emotions and experiences that I've been hearing, at least from many young dancers. But I do know that no one I know is really happy at this moment, for obvious reasons. So when I was thinking about this last week and it was affecting me, my students, and other young dancers that I've spoken to, I was thinking about what to do about this. And I said, why not try to come together in solidarity as a community, as a dance community, to talk through these emotions, whatever we all are feeling, to perhaps try and support each other through it, to listen to one another, and perhaps get some direction, and maybe lift our moods up just a tad in the process. And it's only fitting that we start with two such wonderful artists, my dear friends, Rama Vaidyanathan and Vaibhav Arekar. I thank you both immensely for so readily agreeing, accepting my invitation and joining us in this very important conversation that we're going to have hopefully today. And Rama, of course, needs no introduction. Rama is, I would say, she's the epitome of energy and positivity. Every time I have met her, I've seen that positivity radiating from her. And Vaibhav, I want to say, is, the embodiment of composure and brevity. I've always felt when I look at your art and meet you and talk to you, the sense of the beauty of less is more is very prevalent in your work and persona. I thank you both again for being here with me and welcome you to Inspire, the first session of this three-part series, which will be over the next 3 Sundays, including today. So I would like to start with a question where, we are framing it in the context of what is going on in the world now. It's turned upside down and we have no idea when it is going to end all this. So with that uncertainty in mind, I want to ask each of you to perhaps think back to this year and tell me about one favorite time or thing or the experience that you might have had during this time. Rama, could we start with you?
Thanks, Vidya, for inviting me, and thank you, Samarpana, for doing this. And like you said, Vidya, it's really important to do this. It's important to keep the communication going, and it's important to show the solidarity amongst dancers. And to answer your question, what is that one thing? I would say to spend unhurried time with my family, with no travel plans or no rehearsal plans or no performance, no makeup and none of that. And that unhurried time that I got with my family has been absolutely priceless. And I value that. But of course, I know I've got it at a huge cost, and everybody who's had time in their hands this past year has got it at a huge, huge cost, which is extremely agonizing. But yes, if that is the silver lining, that is what it is.
That's what we're trying to find, at least a sliver of a silver lining. Vaibhav, how about you?
Thank you, Samarpana, for doing this. I know you have been at it for the past full year when the pandemic began, and you're inspiration to be doing that. And whatever contribution I can as an artist, I'm glad to do this. Thank you, Vidya, for inviting me here. Yeah, I know. I think it's a nice question to start with. To be honest, it's cooking. To discover cooking has been extremely interesting. I was never a bad cook. But as you always feel, when you're talking about it, there's always a guilt that we have been developing around it. Because we are the privileged ones, whatever said done, having the luxury of being there at home. But still, as Ramaji said, the silver lining is that you discover things that give you peace apart from your own dance. So the time for me was about discovering this peace of being what I want to do.
So
the kitchen.
What is that? Could you name a new dish that you learned to cook during this time?
Oh, lots of them. From one, I just loved my own Maharashtrian cooking, what my mother used to make. So discovering that, the right recipe, I would call my sister every 2 days and say, now what do I do? But one thing that I've learned, in fact, I think is a Karnataka dish of Goju Avalaki. And I'm a great fan of it.
Lovely.
So,
Lovely.
I learned it from YouTube.
Well, we use whatever source we can get. So I think, I wanted to actually, since, you talked about things that you enjoyed outside of dancing, right? Even to dance and create, there was, during this time, a daily impetus that one had to go through, right? I was wondering, did either of you face days when you could not get up and move forward with dance? I mean, you could do other things, but dance could not. I mean, we are so used to it being a part of our daily lives. So were there days when there was this challenge of not being able to find that creative spark, or to move, or to dance, or to practice, or to do anything, any of that? And if so, how did you manage such days, handle such days? I want to know. Vaibhav, could you answer that for us?
For me, there were many such days. For one, last year was also tackling a health issue, not a major issue, but something that was hampering my dance. So at one point, I was quite at peace with what was happening to the body and giving it complete rest. I think they've abused the body a lot. So the body needed to just rest and do nothing. So I did have that as an initial phase, but post that, I think the pandemic got what was going around, the feeling of helplessness. And so I was paralyzed at points. I've had bad nights when I woke up thinking, what am I, where am I, what am I doing? Like, you're sitting at your home getting everything done. Okay, you are helping the frontliners by not stepping out. That's what you're saying, but you really can't do much for the migrants. You might raise funds, but apart from that, so all this keeps these questions that keep going around you. I had a tough time. Dance, of course, centered me every time I dance, because for me, dance is meditative. But yeah, there have been many days when I've not danced. In fact, I've danced a lot, much less. My Riyaz time has been erratic. I do it any point, any time. So it's not been an easy time for the whole last year, in fact. I was not well. It wasn't COVID. So to come back, you lose your stamina, and you're trying to do a small place in which you're practicing from a studio space. The energies change. So there were a lot of questions. And of course, you find a way through it positively.
Excellent. Dancers, if you're listening, see, this is what it is. I tell my students the same thing, right? So it's not like we all don't have bad days. You try to navigate through those and work through those, not ignore those, but go through those, right? And find a way, find some light at the end of it and come back.
You believe in the light, you believe in the there is going to be a good time. So in that sense, there is nothing that I will say I'm negative. I've had depressions. But these things come and affect it. I won't say right now, when you spoke of the pandemic and I'm hearing what everybody's going out, your heart beats have changed, just thinking of what are people going through. But yet you need to survive. That is what humans are. So there is a positivity within that. And so you find and navigate.
Very true. Very true. Very true. Rama, did you face such days? And How did you handle that?
Oh, yes. So, I thought of, sometimes when your body is aching, your legs are paining or your back is paining, you don't feel like dancing that day, right? So you listen to your body and you don't dance. So I felt that we dancers must listen to our heart, must listen to our mind also. So on a particular day, if you're agonizing over what is happening, and if it is depressing you, and if you do not feel like dancing, I think you must listen to your heart. You must listen to your mind and not dance. And most importantly, not feel guilty about it. If you've not done your practice because what is happening around you is affecting you, I think it's okay not to do it. And it's okay not to feel guilty about it at all. Because after all, we are humans first and then we are dancers. So what I would do is listen to my mind and not dance, but do other things, like pick up the phone and reach out to a fellow dancer, or reach out to friends and relatives, or read poetry, or watch something on dance. It's not always that you need to go to the studio to dance. You can even kind of play the role of a dancer without going to the studio to dance also. So look at things that can inspire you. Look at things that can motivate you to not to dance, but to even think about dancing. So that is what I would do. And I think the most important thing is not to feel guilty.
True.
Very true. Very true. Very true. And you touched upon that, the holistic nature of what we do, right? So it's not only in the studio when we're dancing that we're dancing or thinking about it. So how we are in our regular lives, who we are as human beings, is all sort of being channeled into that, the whole of who you are as a person and an artist. So true. So true. I felt the same way and did not push myself on such days. And therefore, the days that I could dance were richer for that and were more, productive in terms of yielding to the heart as a result of that. Thank you for that answer. Rama, I wanted to ask you, so during this time, you have actually produced and performed a lot of several video performances, gorgeous performances that we've seen. And I wanted to know what, apart from, I'm sure there are differences when you perform for a live audience versus a camera, but I want to know what that inner experience was for you, as an artist who has performed everywhere on stage. For the first time, we were confined to this box. And what did that do to your soul? What was that experience like?
So I was determined to take it up as a challenge, and I got excited with the medium. So my adrenaline rushed because my dialogue with my dance changed. My dialogue with space and movement and emotions changed just because dance was for the camera. And this whole process of redefining your movement and, changing your choreography or your thought process and making dance an aesthetic experience for the camera, because we all know that what you watch through the camera is not the same experience as watching live. We all know that. So now that's the problem. How do we find a solution? The solution is to give a different kind of aesthetic experience. So the aesthetic experience that one gets out of live performance is different from, so that doesn't mean that there is no aesthetic experience. There is no rasa in watching dance on camera. So my thought was to make the most of the situation. And let's look at how we can make dance through the camera a beautiful experience. So it was challenging, it was exciting. And that is what really, urged me to go forward. But of course, there are, like you said, there are negatives to it also. And the presence of a live audience and, the resonance of clapping and the vibration that you get from the audience is, really terribly, terribly missing. But what I would tell all dancers, through this conversation, what I would like to tell all dancers is something that happened to me, is that when I did something for the Nirantara Narmada festival in memory of Guru Narmada in Bangalore. So Purnima Guru Raja, one of our students, is the one who curated the festival and asked me to perform. So I did this whole performance and I sent her the video, and it was live streamed. You know what she did? After the performance was over, she took a video, and she and her whole bunch of students were sitting watching the performance. So she took the video of the last 10 seconds of the Mangalam, and then she took a video of everybody clapping. And then she sent it to me on WhatsApp.
Oh,
you know, I had tears. I got all teary when I saw it, and I said, oh my God, I'm watching somebody clap for my performance after ages. So I think we as dancers can do this. We can, we send so many WhatsApp messages here and there, but let's do this. We can do a nice clap, a video of us clapping, and send it to the dancer. It really makes a difference.
Yeah, yeah. Why not? Indeed. That's a lovely idea. Oh, that's heartening to hear, because it's something that one struggles with, I think. I mean, obviously, it depends on the infrastructure you have around you. But given that, to be performing to a square box where you don't know who is watching at the other end or when they're going to watch it, right? And the decorum of how they're going to watch it in their jammies or in their, the days of not wearing the pattu pudavai and going to the kacheri, right? So all of that sort of, the energy exchange, like you said, is missing. And I'm happy to hear that positive spin that you put on that, right? And how to make the best of that, because we don't have a choice at this point. What do we do? Thank you for that. And Vaibhav, I wanted to ask you, I know that in between when, the universe sort of cleared and there was this sliver of time when we were all able to get out of our homes, I know that you went and performed live for audiences. And I want to know if that experience was different from how the live performances were before the pandemic. Did having stayed away for so long from live performance change that experience for you in any way?
I would like to share before that before I did a live performance, for the same performance, Venugan, I was to record it for Avam. And, but I wanted this both, to have a live performance. Since I was dancing in Pune, we had booked an auditorium. And then Pune was allowing, the theater shows had opened up. So we were already contemplating whether we put up a show or not. And so for that particular evening, when I was shooting it was a 10-hour shoot. We decided to invite a few people, of students of mine. And I told these guys that I want to have one full run of the show. You can shoot it 3 cameras, then I'll give you these bits that we want to do with a gimbal, and I'll do that again. But even for that shoot, what I did was a full run with some 15-20 people sitting scattered around the auditorium. And that's when we decided we'll put up another show in the same auditorium. But in fact, when we went for a rehearsal at the auditorium, I had a few dancers who came in, students. And that I feel the smell of the auditorium is good enough, so the smell is good. But that whole makeup smell in that auditorium with that yellow lights, the sweat that happens when you're put on your makeup, trying to get off, warm up, is amazing. It is something completely different. But when we put up the show, what I remember is that first entry that you want to have, and you had forgotten what it means when you hear this small hushed up sound of the audience coming in. The third bell ringing in Mumbai, at least in Maharashtra, is very important. The bell 1, 2, they'll come and ask, should we ring the third bell? Then you go and how many people have come in? Said okay, because we had to wait. All the audience couldn't come in at the same time, and we had some 400 people came for the show. So imagine the sound. So I think it was different, but I was tuned not to affect. In fact, at that day said, let me not be too excited. But I can't tell you, when that curtain opened, there's a point in the blackout. There's a commentary that happens. The curtain opens and you have to go and sleep before the light comes in. That magic is amazing. That, the audience is watching, and I can see from the Rasika's point of view, I'm waiting what's going to happen now. There's a blackout on stage. Where does the story open? And you are now there, right? Saying, okay, the light's going to come on. Sushant puts his light, and you are also mentally getting into the frame. You know that silence of the audience. It's magic, and to relive that magic is something amazing. But not to say that, as Ramaji said, to adapt is also important. When I shot, I think it was a beautiful experience. But there was a point when I was doing Madhurashtakam, suddenly they started moving with the gimbal, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Because I think you play, you know that the audience is going to watch from this camera too. So you're moving with that angle, you're dancing to that, and I think you're still doing it. You're doing your job. Absolutely. But the applause, the silence, the breath of 450 people watching you from that, you can hear it, And we had forgotten that, yes, we take all that for granted. That the curtain opens and there's a moment of magic before the show starts.
I can almost hear all the dancers who are listening, going, oh, what I wouldn't give to experience that again, right? So I can feel that almost from the way you described it. Thank you.
Just to interrupt here, Weber spoke about the feeling of breath and that tension. But I also go through that tension when a video is being premiered.
Yes.
Before the video getting premiered, I'm like, it seems as though there is a live performance happening. So I mean, that's the best. I mean, that's we need to become children sometimes to carry on with life and be positive. And these are little things that we need to snatch. And when I felt tensed and when I felt excited before my first video premiere, I was happy. I said, let me get tense. Let me feel the tension. Let me feel the anticipation. Let me be anxious. Let me feel, oh my God, will people like it or not? What will the critics say? Well, what will, let me feel. Let's go through it. So I think it's important.
But that's when you know that all is good, right? Yeah. That's when you know that all is good, all is well. When you feel that trepidation and those butterflies,
that's true.
That everything is working.
Yeah.
So the premiere, I sat with friends of mine. We went on a huge screen. We said, let's be at 7:30 or I think 8 o'clock, whatever the premiere was. So some 4-5 of us sitting, watching the premiere happen. So I think it was exciting.
Lovely. So lovely to hear that. And I can't wait. I'm sure everyone out there can't wait to experience that for themselves, right? Eventually.
But live shows have a fun of its. We are artists.
Yes.
I watched, and that week I watched 3 performances at a street. 2 of my own students, one poetry show in Pune, and 1 play. And at tears,
you made the most of it. Yeah, good.
Not safe at that point.
Yeah.
Not now.
Unfortunately, we're back in our boxes, but hopefully not for too long. That's the hope. And I wanted to ask you. So, I mean, I'm sure you've had this question asked to you from others. It's teaching, right? Online teaching. We're all having to do that now. Confined to this box again and peering. We were just talking about our glasses. I mean, for one, my power has increased tremendously in the last 1 year. So all this peering, and I want you to maybe talk about what is this, the height of frustration and perhaps the most wonderful thing about online teaching for you. I mean, since we haven't had a choice. I'm assuming you have taught online. I'm not sure. I know that some of,
Yeah, you asking me, Vidya?
Well, either of you, please jump in. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, right. So online teaching, yes. The good thing is that it is flexible, accessibility, of dancers, of your students all over the country, all over the world. And somehow I feel sometimes in online, there is like a very, very close interaction that you can have with the student because there are no external issues happening around. It's just you and that camera and that student. So, sometimes I feel that, teaching online is fruitful, but when that lapse happens and the time lag happens, it's so frustrating. So it's very, very frustrating. So, so I heard Karuna Sagari, that lovely dancer in Coimbatore. So she said that she makes short capsules, video capsules of her teaching that particular, say if it's a Jati Swaram, just the Pallavi Korvai or something, and giving the Kanaku and then, teaching it. She makes a video and then she sends it to her students. The students watch it and learn it. And then on the Zoom call, when they come, she gives them corrections. So this is probably a better way, one way to teach, especially when the students are young.
Actually, Bijayani was telling me that she does the same thing. I think she takes it a step further in the sense that she sends video capsules and then the students also send videos of their dancing and then they discuss it. But of course, I think in her case, her internet issues where she lives is the problem. But this is the workaround we have to find, right? What do you do? I mean, if we can find options, then we have to make do. And I hear you on that time lag. It is the most annoying thing. Because everything is, you're saying, and there is it's like Usi for Thamam. It's like that's what's happening.
It's terrible Usi.
It's terrible Usi. Yeah.
It's not even Usi on Talam.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's off Usi. Yeah.
And you're trying to get who's dancing what are you doing? If there are 10 dancers are dancing. So finally you call in for videos because for one, the Zoom quality is not good enough. I mean, at that point,
Yeah.
So you're not able to watch and know what's happening. Leave whether they dance in talam or no. Even if it's abhinaya, I find that you can't really catch the nuances. But I feel we've all started liking it in a way because we're adapting it, like sending these videos, a new thing that I've learned. I didn't teach much for the last year, but I've started only now. I only had my group of dancers whom I worked. But now I've opened up and then, but only seniors, I don't have juniors. But the thing of what I find frustrating is that you can't tell them the movement. You have to keep turning it and say, okay, now look at the back. But the back is not seen as you see with naked eyes. But the amazing thing that these young dancers catch it. Probably, I don't know whether I would learn from somebody like this.
Yeah.
He's 14, 15, 17. I don't know how they have full interest for 1 hour, 1.5 hours.
The other thing is, most of them don't have enough space.
Yeah.
So when they have to show you an adavu properly or something that they've learned properly, if it is nritta, if it is abhinaya, it's nice. They can sit in front of the camera and they can do it. But if they have to show you something, and most of them do not have access to studios, especially during the lockdown.
True.
And then in their small rooms or hostel rooms or living rooms, they don't have space. So it's, they are also frustrated. So it's difficult to even give them corrections to see, because many times they say, oh, Akka, because there's no space. So, okay, there's no space. So, yeah. So, but
so many young dancers around, but that's also an advantage. Like across the world, people have come in, you're joining in. Sharing.
Exactly. It's made it accessible to so many from all over. Yeah, same thing. I've been getting students from all over because of this. And I also find that, to further this discussion is that when you're teaching something, the interpretation from the student is modified somewhat. And sometimes I find a variation that I actually quite like and say, okay, let's go with that, and that's when you're in person, there is more of the demonstrating and more of the, I think there's a tendency not to copy, but to find a way to almost imitate what you're doing, right? So, which I find doesn't happen on the online medium. I find a sense of the individual in that dancer coming out. So when I'm watching 6 of them or whatever, they all look different. And I like that. I do like that. But yes, for me, the frustrating thing is the talam. I was going to ask you, let's see, how are we on time? So yeah, let's go on to this question now. You have been putting out work tirelessly through this time. You've been producing, you've been dancing, you've been, creating, choreographing, teaching, all of it. So obviously you are a firm believer in the fact that we need to continue with the arts, because there is a question among many as to why dance at this time, right? So at the time when there is so much sorrow all around us. And this is something that I actually associate with the fact that arts are often relegated to the last, burner on the stove, that it's something that's unnecessary, especially during times of upheaval and tragedy like this. I want to ask each of you, why the art? Perhaps Vaibhav, you could go.
We keep saying art heals, art heals. Of course it does, in a way. But for me, I think to be is to dance. Why not? The question of people asking, how do I live? How do doctors live? I live as an artist. So why shouldn't I practice art? Because that is what I can do. But if my art keeps others happy around, if I can share this happiness with them, why not is my question. So I've never had a problem with that. I've never had problems looking at dancers dancing on the screens on Instagram, however, from their bedrooms, halls. Why not is my question. If I can watch Netflix, nobody goes and asks Salman Khan, why are you doing this movie? What is the commercial success? Why are they earning so much of money when people are dying there?
Yeah, absolutely.
So why are dancers being asked that? And to be is to dance. And I think it's meditative for me. It is to live, to be in that process. And art, it does reflect what we are. It may not at this point of time. I love Ramaji's interpretation of the Padam when she says, what is she doing around? So she's also getting what she means is happening around her. It may be a traditional piece, but when she looks it, it has affected her. It's not that she's danced a Varnam and a Padams without knowing what is happening around. She's danced, and when she danced last year for Dry Waste with her daughter, both of them, there was a context which came into a performance. It might seep in very, very beautifully within the frame of what Bharatanatyam is. If you just see the technique of Bharatanatyam, you'll say this is Bharatanatyam. But if you see this artist has been affected and trying to tell you a story of her life that is affected, so art, I feel, reflects gloom and glory. That will happen, and it has to happen. So why not?
Beautifully put.
And who will look? Only artists can catch that, what is happening outside. It may not be Bharatanatyam directly. You can't make it a contemporary art which says, okay, migration. But I've seen her performances. She is addressing it. Venu can address indirectly to what was happening to me. So it did come into my performance, and it has reached out. But it reaches out as plain beauty. It is.
Yeah, and to have that happen to you, one has to be open and receptive and responsive. And when that is the case, then it flows through you, whatever you're feeling. All the emotions can be channeled through that art. And very true, beautifully.
What is OTP platforms doing? So much of movies, Netflix, and everywhere around. Mad serials, terrible serials. People are watching it, and you say that is okay. So why not?
Very true.
So to take forward what Vaibhav said was, I think this was an opportunity. This is an opportunity for us dancers to tell the world how important dance is for us. Just as being a lawyer is important to you, and being an engineer is important to you, being a dancer is important to us. Like you said, just to be, it is our life. And I think this is the time we need to tell the world that dance heals, dance inspires, and dancers can be empathetic. Dancers can create work that is a reaction, that is a response to the world around them, and which so many dancers have done. We've seen through this pandemic how many dancers have created work on what is happening, how many dancers have created work to use dance as a medium to communicate, to tell people that, be kind to health workers. Health workers are important. And there have been so many short videos on that. I remember there's a video of all the doctors standing outside their OT, their operation theater, and dancing. So when doctors could do that, why can't dancers use this opportunity to say that dance can communicate, dance can heal, dance can inspire? So
certainly.
Yes. So that is why dance.
Yeah, we're all in agreement. I just wanted everyone to hear that as well. Yes, so true. I want to know if you have put thought to how, when all this is over, dance is going to, the perception of dance, the perception of performance itself, how do you feel it might change? How the experience of it for you as well as the spectator, the audience, do you feel that it might change? And if so, how? Rama, perhaps
You know,
you could answer.
Vidya, I think man adapts so quickly. 1.5 years ago, did we ever think that, we would be performing and teaching online like this? So I think when all this is over and we go back to normal life, we're just going to adapt and we're just going to go back to live performances, performing, watching. But one thing that's going to remain definitely are the online performances, because dancers have realized that this is a platform which does not need validation from anybody, which does not need a Sabha secretary or an organizer to give you a chance, so to speak. And this is the stage of the world. The whole world, all the world a stage, that it's become that. So this is definitely going to remain. Look at the number of young dancers who were able to put out their work. And do you think they would have got an opportunity if they had to put out their work on a live stage? So this is one huge, we've found this tool. Dancers have found this tool. So I think this is definitely going to remain. But of course, there's this revelation that yes, dance can be presented like this. But live performances and the experience of live performances, I think it's going to go back to normal, totally normal, because man, like I said, is going to adapt so quickly.
Yep. Yeah, Vaibhav, any thoughts on that?
But I also feel there will be a change. See, right now, I feel we are all as human beings learning to survive. However we are. There's a survival mode. These antennas have opened up and you survive. That is what you are. So right now, if somebody asks me, are you reinventing? It's not a conscious effort to reinvent. What you feel comes out. What you believe in comes out. When you read something, you take in something, leave out some things. So what has affected us can't come out immediately. It's not that I'm going to put migration into this piece immediately. Or what has happened to the migrant workers, say, or the abuse. Like one of my students has done something on abuse. I loved it. I think it's beautiful. But does it become a piece that will come into the repertoire? I don't know as of now. But it may. It may find validation after some point of time because I will need to do it. So there will be new paths opening up, new ideas opening up. I think I myself am working on something with my dancers on creating a completely new work in process. And we think we should look at black boxes and very small performances and Bharatanatyam performances, of course. I just find that I love the Margam. I just love dancing, what is there, but to also open up questions in performance. And not to say that this is dance, but do we live questions? Do we look at questions? I've never done it. So I have a group of dancers. So I think it will change. It may, and will also, I think it will filter through. If it's not good, it will be thrown off.
Yeah, and it's like you said, it is not a literal representation of whatever we are feeling. It is not as if we are going to create a work that obviously shows the emotions, right?
And I think Bharatanatyam also going to be strengthened as an art form that you're finding strength thinking, okay, I can survive this. It has survived for generations, for centuries.
Yeah.
It has adapted, of course.
Yeah, look at the audience. Look at the audience it has reached out to through online performances. All these youngsters who would have never walked into a theater to watch classical dance have been watching it on their phones and on their iPads. So there has been a huge outreach.
But do you think that suffices for them? I mean, isn't this something that should eventually lead to live performance? And considering that if you're thinking of it as a profession, right? The money obviously is something that is not endless when you're putting stuff out. So do you think work that they're putting on the online platform should and will translate to actual work that pays? Not that we're all getting paid a lot, but yeah.
Yeah, not always.
Yeah,
definitely not always. It really depends, and like Vaibhav said, it's going to filter through. And but a huge space has been created for capsule performances. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. that capsule has been created. Is it right? Is it wrong? I don't think we are in a place to comment on that. Not at all, because there is, dance is going through its own evolution process. It's going through its own transitory phase, and we are just spectators who are just part of this huge drama that is happening. So definitely this space has been created for capsule performances. And we have to wait and see, because nobody's going to go live, watch a live 2-minute performance, 5-minute performance.
Right.
They're not going to go to watch this live. So live performance, the duration of live performances have to remain the same. Duration of online performances have been truncated for many, many reasons. And we really have to wait and watch. And if any dancer is putting out those 5-minute, 4-minute, 3-minute, I'm not saying that's wrong at all. I'm saying do what your heart is asking you to do. Do what is important for you to do. Do what your dance is asking you to do. And so Vidya, I have a question for you. There's so much happening online performances. So since we are talking about online performances, and so obviously there is no quality control. First of all, is there a need for quality control? Because was there a quality control when performances were live? Okay, that's a big question. So is there, first of all, is there a need for quality control? Because, if somebody says, oh my God, there's so much trash happening online, don't watch it. Just as you wouldn't take a cab and go to a sabha to watch a so-called bad performance, similarly, do not switch on your device and watch it. So my question to you is, do we need quality control? And if yes, then how?
Yes, so you partly answered that question, right? In the sense that the quality control has been an issue, whether or not we are performing live or on the online medium. So I feel that is something, like Vaibhav said before also, only time will tell. So any work that you put out there, if you have created it with honest intention, if you've created it with that sense of complete commitment to it and complete a sense of surrender to it, right? So that we were just talking before we started this conversation about how much work goes into anything, right? So when you put that level of work into anything, if you perform it live, it's a different energy. If you perform it online, it's a different energy, but you still have, you as an artist have put in the same amount of work into it. So I feel that if you've done due diligence to it, then it's going to be the responsibility of putting it out there is yours. But after that, your expectations end there. How the audience perceives it, how they receive it or respond to it is theirs. It's their experience. And I always say this, that every audience member comes in with their own conditioning. So your experience with each individual audience member is very different. And it's a one-on-one relationship almost. So the idea of quality control is so individual in that situation. And I feel it's something that doesn't change whether it is online or live. And only time tells whether this is going to survive, sustain, or not. And so, yeah, who is anyone to do quality control, right? We don't have, like in sports, we don't have these races, or we don't have. So it's only the entire, I think the infrastructure, the community of how art is received decides for itself whether it's going to last or not. But our responsibility, is to put the best we can into it as dancers. And that's what I would urge all young dancers to do as well. If you've done that,
it's an interesting question. Can I add something to it?
Of course.
When I've been watching all these performances, they just keep popping up. Actually, go to Insta and you want to find a name. Suddenly, all dance performances they just drop into your phone. And some are very interesting. Somebody's dancing on a terrace, some speeds that they are amazing dancing. What I feel, it's great, no, Ramaji, what you said, quality control or no. But imagine the amount of dance that is happening. Good, bad, crap, but there's dance happening. Instead of being only dancing in sabhas or small auditoriums, getting people, but you have dancers everywhere. There are dancers who have inspired us at this point also, young dancers who
Very true. Yes.
fantastic dance films being made. You're wondering, how did she think of this? And there's also crap which you decide it's crap. But if it works for classical dance, why not? Because there's commercial cinema, there's bad cinema, there's good cinema, all that happening. So if that is happening for dance, let it happen.
Yep. True. Very true. And I have one last question to ask each of you. Is when all this is over, where are you going to travel for performances and for a vacation? Where would you like to travel?
Okay.
I don't. Okay, Rama.
Yeah, Vidya, you know that I go to the US every year, so I would. So I would like to go there for performances, and for travel. I think I want to come to Chennai. It's been so long. It's been so long since I've been there.
For a vacation.
Yeah, okay. I love Chennai.
Come on over. Absolutely. And Vaibhav, what about you?
I had actually planned to show my work, Venugan, around and the new work that we're creating with young dancers in India, of course. Around Bangalore, Chennai. We wanted to do this black box performance in Chennai in the season. Of course, I don't think that's going to happen anymore. We don't know. Anyway, so between that whole season of this, we wanted to do this mad performance in a point. So if that happens, that's what I want to do. For travel, I've been wanting to go to Europe. I'm missing Poland for the past 2 years. And Berlin has been my city of, I love that city. So the first thing I want to go there and have croissant and coffee.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And I know that every dancer out there is making note of where they want to travel when this is over, hearing you both. And
what would you do?
Me, yeah. For me, it's always Paris, whether it is to perform or to.
I love it.
I
love it.
Yes.
Yes. Nothing like that city. Absolutely. So thank you. I cannot thank you both enough for, I can't believe 1 hour is over. We've had a time of just breezy conversation as if we were drinking chai or something together. And it's been a pleasure talking to you. Aryamba, would you like to switch over to questions? I'm not sure if there are any questions from those who are watching. We'd love to invite you all to ask questions. Perhaps she'll tell you how to do that now, I guess.
Yes, so we are live on YouTube primarily, but you can also ask your questions on Facebook. But Akka, as of now, I think all the fundamental questions that we as dancers had, at least I can speak for myself, that it has been answered. Yeah. So it has been answered. All our fundamental questions have been answered. And I think we're just left with so much inspiration and just positivity to move on and get on with tomorrow and work harder and be more inspired and, practice our art with the same amount of love that we do every day. And I think I want to thank all of you for giving us your hearts and for being so honest and for being yourselves and giving us all of your experience and all of your wonderful positive thoughts and positive vibrations. Despite, I'm sure that you have yourself been challenged a lot during these times, testing times, and it is only a blessing for us to see you and see you be there to guide us and move on for tomorrow. As younger dancers, I would really want to thank you on behalf of Samarpana. And before we conclude, I just want to say that Samarpana is a trust that does not work on profits. This particular series is based on donations, and these donations, all that we procure out of these series and out of these fundraisers will directly go to COVID patients in government hospitals, especially in Chennai. Till today, we have been able to raise enough funds to procure about 150 cylinders and concentrators, which are on their way to Chennai anytime soon. Without all of your support, this wouldn't be possible. And with all your support, again, will only help us gain more and procure more oxygen cylinders to help as many people as we can. So we humbly ask you to go to our Instagram page. You can find the link where you can donate. We have signed up with Milap, who are also doing great amounts of work for this. So you will find a link that takes you to the Milap page, and you can donate how much ever you can. Every penny is worthy, and every penny will be saving somebody else and saving a whole family. So thank you all for watching. Thank you, speakers. Thank you, Vidya. Thank you, Rama. Thank you, Vaibhavanna, for being here today and being so positive and putting a smile on all of our faces this evening. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you. Thank you all. And join us next Sunday as well for the second session.
Yes.